YouTube, I'm back with a Maximum Football update. Like the video if you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe.
Again,
let's get it.
Micah, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I think it's a great approach, the way that you're handling your marketing at this point. Thank you so much. So please, Micah, let us know your responsibilities and maybe a brief experiences that you had as a game developer.
So I'm sorry, you said what are my responsibilities?
Yeah.
Okay.
If people don't know who you are, I know who you are, right? But if we have a lot of new viewers, like, what are your responsibilities? Like, what's your title and everything? What do you do?
So I am the game director on Maximum Football. So that involves pretty much anything and everything. I help lead the development team, the artists, the developers, the sound guys, pretty much every aspect of the game I have a hand in. Primarily, I design most of the mechanics in the game. So whether it be franchise, Dynasty, or just normal gameplay mechanics, I sit down and design them out. Usually start with some paper design and then move into some, usually, what do I use usually after that? Figma or something else like that. A couple different tools we use to, just show the ideas that we have, hand it off to developers, and then kind of talk them through it and explain to them how it should work, show them references from other games, show them references from NFL, from college, and basically just guide the game, kind of make sure that everything's on track, make sure that mechanics are being developed the way they should be developed. There's a lot of chances for the game to go wrong, especially when you're making a simulation. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. There's a lot of ways to take the game where it could kind of lead it into more arcadey territory, or, going so far into simulation that it kind of becomes boring. So part of what I do is just make sure the game is fun. And a lot of my inspiration comes from back when I was younger, old school Madden, old school football games, Tecmo Bowl. They had a whole different feel back in the day, in my opinion. It was a lot faster. And it was just more fun without feeling arcadey at the same time. And so a lot of what I do is I'm trying to get back to that point. And it can be tough because with modern technology, you always want to do really cool stuff. You always want to push the envelope when it comes to how realistic the game looks. And sometimes you sacrifice fun gameplay for, visual realism. So a lot of times you need to have somebody who can keep a vision, like keep a gameplay vision. How do you want this to feel? How do you want this to play? And because there's going to be a lot of people that jump in and they say, hey, we need this to look a lot better. We need to work on this animation, make this animation longer, make this animation more beautiful and prettier. And sometimes the game just doesn't call for that. Sometimes making the animations more beautiful actually hinders the gameplay.
Sure.
So, sorry, that was kind of a long answer, but it's kind of like I just lead the vision of the game pretty much and make sure that everybody's sticking to the vision.
Yeah, sure. And the vision for this game is a simulation football game with lots of depth, good gameplay. The core focus of this game was gameplay. You guys focused on that for a while. Speaking of gameplay, switch subjects slightly. As a game developer, what game are you playing right now?
I think I just got into what everybody's into right now for some reason. I'm into Helldivers.
Yeah.
Been playing a lot of that. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
It's wild how it's just a basic, kill the bugs, kill the Terminators, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Me and my son have been playing it and we've been having a blast.
That's awesome. If I was a PlayStation guy, I'll be playing that too. As soon as I get one, I definitely believe I'll get into Helldivers. It looks fun. I've seen a lot of clips online. It looks like a hell of a good time. It reminds me of Starship Troopers.
Yeah. It's a lot like that. You can get it on Steam. I've been playing it on Steam.
That's right. It's on Steam. That's a great point. Can you briefly share some of the Maximum Football development team's backgrounds and some of their experiences?
So we have studios pretty much all over the world.
Nice.
Yeah, and so we have a studio in Hungary. It's Maximum Hungary, and then we have another one in Romania.
That's a great name.
Maximum Hungary. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
So the main most of the developers, the engineers we have are in Hungary, and it's the Maximum Hungary studio. and they have a lot of experience with Unreal. Those guys are amazing. I go out there and visit them once or twice a year. I need to start going out there more. But so those guys have about 10, 12 or more years of experience, mostly making racing games. And they made some really cool racing games in the past. And when we brought them into Maximum Football, it was pretty much their first time making a football game. But they took to it. They seemed to like it. They are doing an amazing job. These guys are wizards in the Unreal Engine. So I'm extremely glad to have them on the team. Most of our artists are in Romania. They're the Maximum Romania studio. And they were previously working on a hunting game for a long time, might have been 10 years or more. So they have a lot of experience, making high quality 3D models, high quality textures. They're very talented artists over there. And it's a full studio of great artists, great animators. And I'm just glad to work with those guys. So those are our main two studios. We also have a studio in Mexico and Sweden. So a lot of the Dynasty work that we do is based out of our studio is Maximum Mexico. And so they do most of the Dynasty, and they're transitioning over to franchise.
Wow. That's awesome.
I'm not the only one, right?
Okay,
so we have a development director, and we have producers, and there's other people leading it as well. So it's not just you.
But this game is definitely your baby.
I protect it like my baby. Yeah,
that's right.
Could be a problem, I guess. But yeah.
Speaking of which, how long has Maximum Football been in development?
About a little over 2 years.
2 years. Okay. 2 years from Unreal Engine 5, the port over to Unreal Engine 5, or right from Unreal Engine 4 to 5?
I think we were in I forget the first version we were in. We were 4.7 or something like that. But yeah, we were in Unreal Engine 4. And then we migrated over to Unreal Engine 5.
Okay, 2 years. That's you guys done a lot in 2 years. And I'm speaking from, because I'm part of the private Discord and I see the progress. We're gonna go into that a little bit, but it's a lot of progress that I've seen. I'm gonna hit you with a big question. All right. Maximum Football will be free to play across all platforms. How would the game be monetized?
So there's still some. We still have some questions to answer for monetization, still some stuff to design out. But for the most part, it's going to be cosmetics. So if you buy any sort of fancy face masks, fancy helmets, we're going to have a default level of cosmetics that are free. So you can create teams that you want for free. But if you want to do any of the really cool stuff, gold-plated visors or whatever, just cool mouthpieces and really cool patterns, a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you're gonna need to buy if you want your guys to look really truly awesome, or if you really want to customize your receiver. Like if you want one receiver to look way different from another receiver, then you'll probably have to buy some customization to really make them unique. Other than that, we have a season pass that we're going to be rolling out with. So I'm sure you're familiar with season passes. I'm sure a lot of you don't like them I'm sure a lot of people don't like them very much. We're trying to make it as fun as we can. And trying to make it really fun and really exciting, and not just like a way to take money from people. So the main ways will be cosmetics and then the season pass. And then also on top of that, there'll be a one-time, if you want to play franchise and Dynasty, you can do a one-time purchase for that one.
Sure. I think that that sounds great to have levels. And if I want to get really specific in my designs of my players and their emotions and all that, the emotes, I think that's a great way to do it. So you mentioned that you don't want to piss people off. There's a game that I've been playing a lot, and I actually really like this game. It's called The Finals, right? Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you definitely have to play that. It's a lot of physics, a lot of destructible environments, first-person shooter. Very fun game, 3v3v3, objective-based. The thing that's not so fun about it, and a lot of gamers are upset about it, it's a free-to-play game, but once you buy the Battle Pass, you also have to put more money in to buy the things that you unlock from the Battle Pass, right? So there's like a in-game currency that you can't unlock without like playing the game. You actually have to put more money in after buying the Battle Pass. Not to put you on the spot or anything like that, but is there like an in-game currency, something like that effect in Maximum Football? And if so, can you give some details?
Yeah, we will have an in-game currency.
Okay,
So there'll be a hard currency and a soft currency,
sure.
a way to sort of grind out and get the soft currency and purchase things. It'll take longer, of course. When it
Okay,
comes to when it comes to online ranked gameplay, you're not going to be able to purchase a win. Basically, it's not a pay to win situation. Um, the cut when you're purchasing things for the online, when you're playing online, you're going to be able to use your unique cosmetics, but
sure.
there's not going to be really anything that changes the gameplay that you would have to buy.
Perfect. It's
That would
not
give,
like
yeah.
NBA 2K. That's perfect. Do you have plans for obtaining licenses for like DLC or microtransactions?
We do have two licenses. We have licenses right now with like we have an Adidas license and an
Right.
Under Armour license. The amount of content we have is still, it's not like we can just make any Adidas cleat and jersey we want.
Gotcha.
We still have to get approved for which cleats we want to use. And it's a pretty long process. They have to send us over all the artwork, 3D models, 3D scans of it, 2D scans of it, and then we recreate the cleat, send it back to them for approval. It's a pretty strenuous process. We're always looking for more people to partner with. It just depends on who. It depends on what they want, of course. So there's a lot of opportunities for more brands to enter the game. I don't think we've really been focusing on that too much. We've been making a lot of our own content, and once we have more brands, we'll just start adding those in.
Sure.
So I'm not saying that we won't. Obviously, we want to have more brands, but that's really hasn't been the main focus lately.
Main focus is gameplay, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. As I alluded to before, I was in a private playtest and I played the betas. I've seen the progressions of the game during early access, where anybody can participate. Will users continue to see the progress throughout the year? Will there be like a public roadmap of what's to come once this game launches in early access?
Yeah. So we'll continue launching updates and releasing updates. The way we're planning it now is most of the updates will release with the battle passes.
Sure.
So, and don't quote me on all this. We're still building it all and testing it all and making sure that it's fun.
Yes, sir.
And so if anything comes across as being, just really, really bad, then we'll fix it.
All right.
But the current plan right now is to have battle passes and seasons, and whenever we have cool new mechanics or new functionality, we'll release it with those battle passes.
Okay. That sounds good. I mean, I also play UFC 5, my first UFC 5 game ever. I'm getting my ass kicked every other fight. It's a brutal game. But anyway, they do like a similar thing when there's a new season. They release a new update. I think there's a new update right now that I haven't downloaded yet or is about to come. So again, you guys are in the right direction. Is there a launch date for the next playtest for people to participate in, and how can they participate if they didn't already?
Yes, you can. You have to get into our Discord, our playtesters Discord. One way to do that is to go to the Maximum Football Twitter page, and there's a link to the Discord. It's a public Discord; anybody can join it. And I believe there should also be a form that you can email to try to sign up for the playtester Discord.
Correct. Yes.
So we're going to have a big playtest here in about 2 months. It's going to be a big public playtest, and we're planning on having thousands of people. So anybody who wants to playtest can jump in and join this one.
Nice.
Exactly. So right now there is a form to sign, but as we get closer to this playtest, we'll start releasing more information about how to join this the larger playtest.
I love it. This is the one thing that I truly do love about modern games is you get to play test it. You could give your suggestions. You will get heard at the very least you'll get heard. And you actually have your hands on the actual game before it comes out. I think that's the right approach. I love that. I remember before Madden used to come out with a demo. Now there's no demo. You either buy it or wait 6 months when the NFL season is done, or 9 months when the NFL season is done, or whatever time, and then there you go. You get to play it on Game Pass, right? But yeah. I love this approach. Do we have an official? I already know the answer to this, right? But is there official launch date or a window of when the game is going to launch on consoles?
Consoles will come after we release on PC. Mm-hmm. So we're going into early access on PC. Yes. And that will for sure be this year. I can't give you the exact date, obviously. As soon as I can, I'll let you know. But the plan is to go into early access with PC, and then after that, a few months later, we'll be on all the other consoles.
Awesome. What do you think in this day and age of what we're playing now with simulation football games? What do you think will make a new simulation football game successful?
To make a new simulation game successful, that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
It's really just a focus on the kind of the boring mechanics. There's a lot about football so everybody immediately wants to jump to the awesome catches, the spectacular catches, the big, huge flattening tackles, the pancake blocks. But in order to really make a simulation, you have to focus on a lot of the boring stuff.
Yes.
So just a lot of boring mechanics, a lot of basic football mechanics. Our game is maximum football, but it should be just called basic football because that's what we're focused on the most.
Yes.
It's boring moment to moment stuff. And I don't see a day when we will run out of gameplay to stop working on. And this is kind of, I've seen other games say that like we can't advertise just gameplay updates, right? I've heard other companies say that it's hard to advertise simulation football gameplay updates because everybody, you've already built the game. What other mechanics do you build? There's nothing new in football. But you can always go deeper. You can always make the players look more realistic, or you can always make their mechanics more believable, the behaviors more accurate. It's 11 on 11. A football game is 11 on 11, and every single player has a different responsibility. Football is a pretty unique sport. You can compare it to soccer. Soccer is not as big as 11 on 11. Basketball is not as big as 11 on 11. Football is a lot of players on the field, and they're all doing different things. So I feel like we could spend the next 5 years just focusing on cornerbacks only, and we'd still have a ton of work to do. We could spend 5 years just working on the offensive linemen, just getting all the animations correctly, getting all the mechanics working smoothly, making sure they punch at the right moments and making sure they're just everything that an offensive lineman could do perfectly. All the little behaviors, we could work on that for years and still only kind of scratch the surface of what you could possibly do. There's a lot of things that we want to do with mocap, working with the mocap teams or the mocap studios that we work with. We need to get better suits. We need the ability to track, 22 players on the field in a mocap studio at the same time, playing a real game of football. One of the main constraints we have right now is that when you mocap a person to try to get animations out of them, you have to put them in a pretty sterile environment almost. Right, you have to get them into a mocap studio. You have football players who are used to playing in front of thousands of people at high speeds, high octane, getting hyped up with their with their buddies and the other teammates, just super hyped up environment where everybody's into it and you guys are just locked in. That's what they're used to. So when you get those same players and you put them into a mocap suit, and then you say, okay, now you have to run 5 steps, turn left, hit this guy perfectly at his lower body, lift him up, drive him down. And they have to do all these things, and they have to do it with no crowd watching them. There's no hype. There's no real competition there. They just have to get into the suit, do this animation, and then they're probably going to do it wrong the first time and have to get them to do it 5 more times until it looks perfect. And so by the end of it, it's just they don't have the energy. So one thing that would really help a lot is just to get a suit on every player on the field. Just get 11 on 11, have them play each other, record all their motions, take all those animations. Clean them all up, get them into the game, and then you have really aggressive animations that are realistic because they were actually playing the game in a high octane environment. So, part of pushing this industry forward is actually recording players' animations in a better way. So that's and there are technologies coming out. There's a lot of AI technologies coming out where you can just watch players with a camera. You can basically just put NFL film into some of these AI technologies, and it might be able to spit out animations for you. Those aren't out yet. When they do come out, I think the industry will probably push forward pretty significantly.
Sure.
But those are just some of the things.
Yeah, no. And some of those things you said a lot. And game development is hard as hell to begin with, let alone trying to create a specific type of game that's replicating life like that. Being a game developer is a very hard job. God bless you, man. But it's definitely what you just mentioned, I think, is exactly what a lot of gamers want. They want a game that looks realistic, but they have a lot of fun playing it. They have a lot of control. Okay, so you mentioned updates before, and you just said that if you focus on cornerback play alone, you could focus on 9 to 10 years and still have more work to do. And I agree with that. That's a perfect segue into the next question is, how will Maximum Football handle yearly iterations? Will it be yearly installments like traditional sports games, or will Maximum Football have like something unique in terms of how you're updating the whole game?
The current plan is not to have yearly installments or
Awesome.
yearly releases. It's so there is a benefit to having yearly releases, and there's a reason people do it, because when you re-release a game, you make a ton of money selling all the copies, and
Of course.
like you probably make way more money, re-releasing the game rather than just releasing updates through battle passes. That's probably just the reality of the situation. But we're not trying to release yearly. We want to release, and also we don't have any contract with the NFL, so
Sure.
we don't necessarily have to keep up with what they're doing, and we don't have to re-release rosters every year to keep up with them. So our focus is mostly on building mechanics, right? We build real football mechanics that are realistic, and we release them when we feel like they're done. So our cadence will follow that. We're going to try to plan out the mechanics so that we can tell you when certain mechanics are going to be released. Like, for instance, right now we don't have the option working. I'm sure that's going to make a lot of people kind of upset, but we don't have the option working.
Sure.
That's something that we're going to try to get working by the time we launch. It'll be tight if we do, but if not, then we're going to be getting that rolled out right after launch. So something like that, like I wouldn't even want to wait until next year to release that, right? Like, let's say we launch the game and then 3 months later we have the option working. I wouldn't want to wait till next year to launch that. I would want to launch that with the next battle pass that we have, or season pass. So that's going to be how the releases work. It's not going to be yearly. We'll release updates every couple months whenever we release the new season pass.
That's awesome. I think a lot of gamers, they wish other games would just take your time. You don't have to release a game next year, maybe 2 years, and the game will be way much better for that. Do you have a detailed plan to set Maximum Football apart from the competition? Can you share any of those details without spilling too much of your own secret sauce?
Yeah. So the main thing that we're trying to do to separate ourselves is to focus more on fast reaction, quick twitch, fast reaction gameplay.
Okay.
So the way I like to describe it, the best way I like to describe it is like, if you have a remote control car in real life, right? Like a remote control car. If you ever played with like a really bad remote control car, like just like a $10 one or something,
Of course.
and when you press forward, like it doesn't always press forward right away and start rolling, and then when you turn to the left, it kind of takes a second and then turns to the left.
Yeah.
Compare that to if you've ever played with a really, really great remote control car.
Mm-hmm.
$100, like couple $100 remote control car. When you press forward, it zips forward. When you press left, it zips left. It's very responsive, right? You're holding a control in your hand, and that remote control car is very responsive. So what we're trying to do is make sure that our game is very responsive. So it's almost like you're holding a really high-end remote control car. And when you're controlling this player on the field, it feels responsive. It feels good. Not to the point where it's unrealistic, right? Because to truly be truly responsive, sometimes you would have to go faster than humans can really move. So we're trying to find the right balance there. We want to make sure that things are fast. Like, if you go play old school football games, a lot of times they turn and they jump. They do a lot of things very unrealistically, but it makes the gameplay more fun. So there is a trade-off. There's a very real trade-off. Like, do you want this guy to move? Then this is a situation we've run into with our ball carrier. A lot of people, they'll immediately, and I assume other football games run into this same issue, and just other simulation games mostly, because people are expecting the running animation to look perfect, right? They want it to look amazing. But in order to really get this guy running and make him truly responsive, he needs to be able to break out of that running animation at any moment, right? Because at any moment you could press left and he needs to turn left, which means he needs to break out of his run mid-stride and turn left. And so, you have the question of, do you hurry up and so if you want to turn and the player has his foot in the air, do you quickly put his foot to the ground, right? Do you trigger like a turn animation, which then puts his foot to the ground and then turns it? Because if that turn animation is a little too long, then it's going to feel very slow when you press left and he has to break out of his forward sprint and then turn left. So in order to make that beautiful, like we have tons of beautiful animations, right? We've recorded lots of great sprints, lots of great turns. If we just wanted to basically take a forward sprint and then blend it into a left turn, we could make it look absolutely wonderful right now, but it wouldn't be very responsive, right? You press left and he would have to finish his running loop and then turn left. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to find the right balance, and we lean more towards responsive gameplay than some other simulation football games. Some other simulation football games, they lean more towards just hyper realistic cinematics to the point where it interferes with the gameplay.
Sure.
So that's the main thing. We're trying to find a good balance.
I think that's a great point that you put that you put out there, and it seems like you have your so to say your ear to the street. You understand what the sim community wants, or people who play a lot of football games, what they want. A lot of people complain a certain game has too many animations and I can't break out of it. That game would be NBA 2K, or Madden doesn't have enough animations, or when Madden decides to take over your controller, you can't get out of an animation. So to blend in responsiveness with authentic gameplay animations, I think again that's the right approach. It's going to be really hard to find that balance because people who know me from my channel, those are the things that I look at, is that balance, is how authentic is the game, one, but then how the game is actually replicating football when I'm playing it or when the computer is playing it. It's going to be a long task. But I think you guys are up for it. And the fact that you mentioned it in an interview, you're not trying to hide from it. A lot of game developers, when they have an interview, they hide from things like that. So it's good that you're approaching that head on.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. It's not really something you can hide from. If you don't get it right, everybody's going to remind you the second they play it.
Oh, yeah.
So there's not much we can hide from in this game.
Yes, sir. Backbreaker was such a unique game for its camera and because of its physics. Physics are so difficult and time consuming to get correct in any game, let alone a football game. I've seen some glimpses of the physics within Maximum Football. I've seen it in the OL, the offensive line and the defensive line interactions, and some of the tackles. Are there other sections in the game where physics is displayed?
Yeah, there's a lot actually. So we have the tackle physics, which is still being worked on.
Sure.
So one of the big updates that we've kind of just had, it just kind of rolled out last week. We've been working on it for quite a while, but it just rolled out last week, and we started getting our first taste of it. Was the upgrade to the passing, the ball flight. So what we have, not only the passing, but the catching as well. So what this system does now is it picks an animation. It basically goes forward in time and sees where the ball is going to land, or where the ball is going to be when it's at the correct catching point. And it tries to match the best animation that it can find so that the hands line up perfectly with the ball when it arrives at the catching point. So you don't have to get the hands perfectly there. Like, the animation doesn't have to match perfectly. We use something called IK to move the hands around a little bit, but there's a limit to that. Of course, you can't move. If you just unconstrain it, the hands will go everywhere.
Right.
So the hands, the animation will have the hands here. You can move the hand here, but you can't go too far away with it. And so basically what this new tool does is allows us to pick the correct animation that gets the player in the closest pose possible when the ball is going to be at catching location. Prior to this, we had to actually launch the ball with physics, and it flies through the air with physics. But then, the last 5 yards before it gets to the receiver, we would just force it to the receiver, and it would warp to the receiver's hands.
Sure.
And it was something we just had to do because we wanted the ball to land in the player's hands very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want it to snap 5 feet away and then snap into the player's hands. So we basically just warp it in the player's hands. But with this new technology, this new tool that we built, we can accurately predict where the player will be by the time the ball gets there and pick the correct animation for it. There's other things that are involved in this, right? So there's there's other layers that are involved with this where it has to figure out, will the defender be able to swipe it? Will the defender be ahead of the receiver? And there could be 5, 6 players who are coming in, and each of them have animations that line up and match where the ball is going to be. And we got to figure out, okay, which one of these players is actually going to be the one who swats the ball or the one who catches the ball? Are these players going to bounce into each other? So there's a lot to figure out besides just, what you're seeing with the ghosted images. But that tool has enabled us to create a football that has pure physics, flies through the air, and there's nothing that warps the ball. There's no trickery. There's no faking anything. The ball is launched with physics. It has an angle, and it has an impulse, and then it flies through the air with physics, and then it lands where it's going to land. So all based on physics.
That's awesome. I remember one of the selling points of Backbreaker, and people were so happy that when the ball was in the air, it wasn't going to warp into someone's hands or warp into a defender's hands. So the fact that you guys are adding physics to the actual ball while it's in the air, I think that's, again, another successful element that this game is going to have right at launch, right at early access at the beginning.
Sure. But then on top of that, there's just kind of moment-to-moment physics between other players on the field. So if you have an offensive lineman who's blocking a defensive lineman, and then to his right, there's another let's say you have an offensive guard, blocking a defensive tackle or whatever. And to his left, he has an offensive tackle blocking, a defensive end or something. If those two engagements, so you have 2 different blocking engagements going on, if those start to touch each other, sometimes they can sort of penetrate each other, right? Sure. Like you'll see an arm go through somebody else's arm. Mm-hmm. If they're in the middle of like a spin move, like the defender can sometimes lead his guy into the other guy that's right next to him.
Sure.
And sometimes you have to figure out how to handle that, right? So they're in the middle of an animation. Do you just let him go through the other guy, or do you bounce the other guy out of the way? Mm-hmm. Do you have them finish the animation where they are in place, and then it looks like their feet are sliding because their feet are moving as if they should be moving to a direction, but we've kept them in the same location, so now it looks like they're on ice, just sliding. Or do you do the hard thing, which is just get a ton of branching animations, and basically every single situation in the game that could possibly change this block, you can branch into it, basically. So you have a block that goes and it bumps into the block next to them, and now you branch into a sort of animation where the 2 guys are bumping into somebody next to them. And so what we do a lot is we use physics for these collisions between these 2 different blocking engagements. So it'll keep the same animations that they're doing, like they're blocking each other, and they're using their attributes to figure out who wins the block, who gets around the other person, whether the swim move was successful or not. And while they're doing that, they'll bump into the players next to them. And we use physics just to move their limbs out of the way. So it'll keep the same animation. You hit somebody else and it moves the arm in, right?
Awesome, yeah.
Or it moves this over. So it doesn't require brand new animations. It just requires some physics. So it took us a lot of work to get that actually working. And it is one of the reasons why we had to delay the game. Getting physics into the game, when we first started this project, we didn't always plan for physics. It was something in the back of our mind. Like we knew that everybody wanted physics, but it's just such a huge task, right?
Oh yeah.
It's not just like, hey, let's throw physics in the game. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to spend way more money. You're gonna have to find engineers there's not many engineers who want to mess with physics, first off. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be an army of them out there who are like, I would love to, but it's hard to find good, people who have done it before who can just step right in and start building on it.
Sure.
So
you're telling me it's not like a light switch you just press and it just magically happens? This actually takes time, effort, and a lot of money? Get out of here. No way. Okay. So we talked a little bit about physics, but is there like a next step or next iteration of a level of physics you want to get to after, I guess, either launch or after early access?
Well, we're going to keep working on physics. I don't see a point where we'll ever stop working on physics. Okay. So our goal, our vision internally is Backbreaker. That's what we always look at. That's what we always reference whenever any of the developers are looking at the physics they're working on. Whenever I talk to them about it, I always bring up Backbreaker as a reference. And honestly, old school Madden back when they were in the Ignite engine, or
Yes.
I forget with 15, they had great physics too
Yeah.
back then. They actually had really good physics. So we look a lot at old school Madden. We don't look at modern Madden because the physics have been severely nerfed.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they have been.
Mm-hmm.
But old school Madden have really good physics that you can look at. So we reference them a lot. But there's always, there's other football games. I think there's a game out right now that's called like Simulation Football. I forget exactly what it's called.
By Refractor Games, yes.
And they're almost purely purely physics, right? So that's a good example of what it looks like when you have way more physics than you have animations that can handle it. It starts to look a little goofy.
Yeah.
Right. So and sometimes I feel a little bad for EA because there's a lot of people who, and I don't feel bad for EA very often. But sometimes people are like, you guys have too many animations. You need more physics. And you can't really have realistic physics without animations sort of guiding the physics, because a lot of times the physics will follow the animation a little bit. It's hard to explain, but it's a pretty deep concept. But the more animations you have, the better physics are possible.
Right.
So
you're gonna give me a lot of hate, feeling bad for EA, man. We can't do that around here.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, how I see it is EA, they're $1 billion company. You mentioned it's very expensive and it's hard to find guys who do physics well. I'm pretty sure if there's some guy living in a cave, EA has the money and resources, they can find it.
Oh yeah.
So simulation games need immersion. One of the best ways to achieve deep immersion is presentation. Do you have plans for this element after early access? And can you share where the game is and kind of where you envision it going in terms of presentation, as deep as you want to go?
Yeah. So presentation was not our number one focus.
Sure.
Up until launch, it was a focus because we know we have to have a good base level of presentation. There's a lot of downtime in a football game in between plays, and you have to fill that up a lot of times with presentation, with commentary and different things in presentation. So we finally feel like now we are at a good place in gameplay to where we actually have impressive gameplay that we're proud of. And of course, we're still tuning it and fixing it, but we feel like we're at a good place with gameplay. And so we are starting to turn some of our focus towards presentation. We had a lot. So there's a lot of cinematics that we have in the game that are working. And we've been polishing a lot of them lately. So a lot of what we're doing right now is just kind of polishing the cinematics we have. And it's crazy, but you can actually do a lot of good work with just a little bit of polish. Yeah. So recently we've been doing a lot of camera work to our cinematics, and it completely changes them. It takes a very boring cinematic and it suddenly makes it more interesting. And it's crazy how much camera work and lighting can actually change a very basic animation and make it look pretty spectacular.
Oh yeah.
So we're doing a lot of that. We are, the vast majority of our presentation is probably going to, so mostly commentary, right? So commentary, I think, is a huge part of presentation, and commentary we won't have until after we launch.
Okay.
So we will have a basic level of on-field commentary. So we have a guy who comes out of the loudspeaker during the game.
Right.
It's not very entertaining. It's more informative, something that you would expect out of a high school game.
Right.
A few months after launch, we will have full two guys in the booth back and forth talking to each other, talking about the game. So we'll have real commentary a few months after launch. Other than that, a lot of our presentation, we've tried to kind of hit the basics. So we have a coin toss working. We have a halftime show. We have post-game shows, and we have variations for winners and losers. But it's all kind of just at the basic level, if that makes sense. It gets the point across. It gets the feel across, but it's not like we haven't put all of our focus on that right now.
Okay. And hey, the fact that you said gameplay is first, I totally expect that, and that's fine. When you said launch, you mean launch after or early access, or launch after the official launch?
When I say launch, I mean early access.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's it's coming sooner than later. That's great.
Yep.
Speaking of immersion, a lot of people are requesting and are looking forward to like a single position mode. or even a single player mode, you know what I mean, like a my player type of thing? Is that in the lines of down the line? Is that after launch or early access? What are the plans for that?
That's after launch, and
Okay.
it's gonna it'll come. It's not going to be immediately after launch either. So the main focus right now, so like the my career mode, anything like that, any sort of like road to glory type thing, those are usually built on top of an existing dynasty mode or an existing franchise mode.
Sure.
And so our first step is to create Dynasty, which we're wrapping up right now. Like in the next couple of weeks, we're pretty much going to be wrapping up with it.
Amazing.
And we've already started on franchise, but franchise won't be wrapped up for months down the road. And so that will be, so once you have the basics of Dynasty and the basics of franchise working, then on top of those, you can start building things like Road to Glory, and the specific career modes and stuff like that.
Okay, great. Still on presentation, is there a spectator mode or different cameras that users can select?
Yeah, there are. So you have a spectator mode, and you can play the game from. We have all of the broadcast cameras that you would expect in a stadium. So we matched up all the cameras that they have in like CBS or ESPN.
Awesome.
Or whatever they have around the stadium. So you have cameras that are, the back end zone. You have cameras that are up at the top of the stadium, mid sections of the stadium, lower parts of the stadium. The on-field camera that's on the wire. We have all of that. We also have a drone camera that sort of works kind of like a drone.
Awesome.
So you can pick any of these cameras, play the whole game from them, or spectate the game from them.
Okay, that was a lot more than I was expecting. That's awesome. Do you have plans for like a dynamic story mode, like an NBA 2K My Player?
I've never played 2K My Player.
Oh,
so,
no. Okay.
No.
Yeah. You should definitely give it a try for its first. I'll just give you a quick gist of it. There's a story mode, but that story mode within the gameplay is dynamic. When you go into the NBA, it doesn't mean you're going to get drafted number one. You might not get drafted at all. You might actually go to the D League. 1 year they actually had colleges where you would play actual colleges and get drafted based on your performance. You could get cut once you make it to the NBA. Stuff like that. It's again, it's dynamic. There's a storyline, but it's also dynamic with the gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about stuff like that. And yeah, we definitely want to start on those things. We just need to get the base level of Dynasty and franchise built out first.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely need the gameplay, need the core elements first before you get into like the icing on the cake, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of franchise and Dynasty modes, I'd imagine that those modes are deep. Which mode launches with early access?
Dynasty.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then franchise will come a few months later.
That's few months later?
It looks like a few months later, but there's always possibilities that things could go wrong.
Of course.
So we haven't given an official date for the franchise.
Right.
What we're anticipating is it could be a part of the first battle pass. It might get pushed out. It could get, but I'm sorry, the second battle pass, not the one that comes out when we launch, but the one after it. And if it doesn't with the one after it, then it'll be, 2 after it.
Sure. The fact, even if it's pushed out, say 5 months, right? The fact that you're mentioning it now and have at least a ballpark, I think a lot of people will be pleased about that. I don't expect it to be pushed back 2 years from now. That's awesome. Will there be online Dynasty franchise modes after early access? And can you play with friends?
So the online stuff, that was kind of a decision we were trying to figure out internally for a while there, whether we should finish online Dynasty first before we jump into franchise, or jump into franchise first and then come back to online Dynasty. So what's probably going to happen is that we finish franchise first and then circle back and get online working for both Dynasty and franchise. So when we launch, there will be no online Dynasty.
Okay.
That there won't be an online Dynasty. But shortly after that, so then it becomes a question of, and we've pretty much already decided that we're going to go with franchise. And then after franchise, we'll circle back to Dynasty.
Sure.
So you're potentially looking at, a good 6 months to 8 months after launch before you get online Dynasty.
Yeah.
Of course, if we find that everybody is kind of just like, okay, we need online Dynasty now. We're less interested in franchise than we are online Dynasty. Then we could switch tactics and try to implement Dynasty online first. But right now, the current plan is to go with, finish Dynasty, move on to franchise, then circle back and get online working for both of them.
Yeah, the amount of flexibility that you're displaying and showing that you're willing to do, that's unheard of in sim sports games. There will be a huge outcry to fix something, and you might not ever get that fix for years to come. So Godspeed to you, man. I hope that stays the course. I hope that stays with this game. Is if you hear a big outcry for something, we're gonna really try to get that to work and get it working good for you guys. I think the community would definitely appreciate that. That's a breath of fresh air, and that goes with what will make a football game or any simulation game successful, is being flexible to your audience. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, we have to. We listen to everything that people say as much as we can. We try to address it, and we always talk about it internally.
Yeah, and I understand you can't get everybody happy, but the fact that you guys are willing to listen, that's big. Real quick question. For franchise and dynasty modes, will users be able to sim games or sim the rest of a game after X amount of time, like after the second quarter, after the third quarter? Is that a possibility within the game?
Right now it's not, no.
Okay.
But we have talked about it. We're trying to get that to work. I don't think that will be a problem.
Right.
I anticipate, based on the conversations I've had with the developers working on this one, it's not going to be a huge task. Really, first we need to start getting, and this is one of our current things we're trying to do, is having, saving a game in the middle of it. Right now, if you just leave the game, you lose it.
Yeah.
So the first step is getting it to where you can save a game like halfway through. And then after that, you'll just be able to pick up the game, jump back into the game halfway through. And then after that, start getting the ability to simulate from any point in the game. So, halfway through the game, you could just simulate it and then jump out, or, halfway through, or whatever you want to do with the simulation, wherever you want to start it or end it. But yeah, so currently, no, you can't do that, but it is in our plans.
Awesome. That is just the fact that it's in the plans. That's what I think a lot of people would like to hear. Will coaches and teams have specific playbooks? Can we create our own plays, and can we create our own playbooks?
So right now we have a number of playbooks that are pre-built. They're based on real NFL playbooks for the most part, with some differences, obviously. But we don't have a different playbook for every coach. We just have a handful of playbooks, and then we assign them to different teams. So we do have the real play creator or playbook creator is not going to be in the game by the time we launch.
Sure.
Our long-term goal is to have a real play creator where you can draw the play onto you can actually draw a play, save it, put it in a playbook, create a playbook, take basically a big library of plays. We'll take all the plays we have in the game, put them in a library, and then any play you make, also put it in the library, and let the user, click any number of plays they want, add it to their playbook, give the playbook a name, assign it to a team, and do whatever they want with that playbook.
Sure.
That's the long-term goal. Right now, we just have a handful of playbooks. I know we have like 10 or 15, and we'll probably have a few more before we launch. And those are tied to different teams. Inside of Dynasty, you can basically change your playbook whenever you want. Okay. So the different and the AI teams, the AI Dynasty teams, their playbook. So each coach inside of Dynasty chooses a playbook, and that playbook sort of determines a lot for that team in the Dynasty mode. So the playbook will determine which players your team focuses on upgrading. So if you are in like a power run type of playbook, your team is going to put more focus on finding big, strong offensive linemen who can run block very well. They'll focus on picking up good running backs, upgrading good running backs with the XP in Dynasty. So a lot of what you do in Dynasty, a lot of what the AI does behind the scenes is dependent on the playbook, even which facilities your team upgrades. So we have facilities for that help improve the passing, facilities for your team that help improve the running, facilities that help improve the strength, and you can upgrade all these different facilities. And the speed at which your team upgrades these facilities, or which facilities they choose to upgrade, is also tied to which playbook the coach has.
Wow. That's deep. I don't think any football game has ever done something like that. That's amazing. So you're telling me that, is it going to affect like the ratings? Is this where you want the game to go, or that's where it is right now?
It's where it is right now. We want to build on the coach and make him basically what we're doing in franchise. One of the upgrades going from, so one of the things is now that we're jumping into franchise, we're completely building out the coach with way more detail. So we're incorporating assistant coaches, scouts. So your team will actually have a real, like a scout, an assigned scout.
Wow. Yeah.
You'll have to, you basically have to go and look through the same way you would pick a coach is how you would pick a scout in our game, in the franchise. So you'll be, a long list, and they'll be good at different things. They'll have, like a scouting radius, a scouting depth, all these different attributes related to scouting that helps determine, what they're good at and what they're bad at. So you can pick up a scout who's kind of sucky and isn't really good, isn't going to help you very much, or you can get a really good scout who helps uncover lots of different players, helps unlock lots of different players, gives you hidden information about them. And we're trying to do a lot with the coaches this year.
Yeah.
Just there's a good amount of upgrades that are coming in for the coaches. Also visual upgrades to like the screens. So you'll have way more information about players. You'll have way more information about their history, their motivations, their personality. So we're introducing some new personality attributes. So things like ambition, certain players who have good leadership, lots of personality attributes. And this will sort of tie into locker room and on-field chemistry.
Yeah.
And different things like that. So it'll be pretty deep. We're trying to build Dynasty. We're trying to build franchise. We're trying to really expand on franchise and really put a lot of cool new stuff in and do more than just the basic. And then once we know all those things are really cool in franchise and working well, we'll circle back into Dynasty and see how much of that we can put into Dynasty as well. Yes,
sir. You said so much. And again, this game is going to launch in early access. And this is I'm saying it's like the first iteration of the game. Of course, within your development time, you've gone through many iterations, but this is the first iteration that the public is going to play. And to have that in your core game at the very beginning that's amazing. And I think that a lot of people should be really excited. What you just said, that means a lot. Actually, that's really big. Actually, I didn't expect any of that, but yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. Since we're on franchise and Dynasty, is there going to be a stadium creation feature? And would you be able to build your stadium off of like an in-game currency, or is it like experience points within your budget? How is that going to work, if it does work?
That's the long-term goal, is to be able to build stadiums within some sort of budget.
Sure.
Right, and we're kind of looking at Halo Forge for inspiration with our stadium builder.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so we actually have the stadium. Our stadium pieces are built in a way that allows us to do something like that. Or we actually have modular pieces for the stadium that can sort of click and click into each other and fit into each other very well. Right. So at launch, we don't have a stadium builder.
Okay.
We do have we're going to let you customize certain things in the stadium. So you can customize what color the seats are and what color the field is, like what color the grass is. But all of the deeper stuff, like building your own stadium, and there's a lot that we actually have talked about and have planned for a stadium builder. Something like not even just the field and the boxes, but it could be really cool to set up like a trophy room where your team could have all their trophies. Really look at the merchandise room or the concession stands and the different places you buy food, and set up where those are and how they look, and upgrade those. So there's a lot we can do there. But we don't necessarily have a full stadium designer built yet. It'll start, like I said, as the field editor and the seat editor, and then after launch, we'll start developing more of the actual stadium designer.
Awesome. That's great. Will there be create a mascot feature? Kind of a left field question.
We haven't started that.
Okay.
But we have written designs for it, and we have estimated out the work, and we have put it on the long-term plans, but right now it's not in any current sprints that we're working on.
Sure.
The basic idea behind it is sort of to have split the mascot into 3 sections, like the legs, middle body, upper body. Yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah, we could just imagine all the crazy
Yeah.
monstrosities, Pokemon-looking things that people are going to create. That's going to be funny. That's going to lead to a good time. How do you feel about player traits, and are they in the plans for the long term?
Traits, like not attributes.
Well, yeah, like player traits. Like there's some football players who like to crash the box, like safeties. They like to be in the box to stop the run, or they'd rather play coverage. But you could put them in that situation, but you have to put them in a situation. They won't do that on their own.
So we don't have traits right
Okay.
now. We don't have that.
Sure.
So, but and if we were going to go the route of having players have different behaviors, so like if you want to have, let's just say you have two cornerbacks, and you want to have one cornerback who, I don't know, tends to press more or tends to, although it's actually a better example would be like a defensive end. Let's say you have a defensive end who's more likely to, take a very wide stance.
Yeah.
He goes out wide and he tries to bend around the corner quite a bit versus somebody who doesn't really try to get around and just kind of shoots in straight.
Sure.
Or whatever. So if you have differences in players like tendencies on the same position, I don't know if I would handle that with traits. Okay. I would prefer to handle that with branching attributes. Okay. Sort of like you had in Skyrim, where like you have a defensive end and you upgrade them a certain amount of points.
I see.
In a certain attribute, and then you can branch it to the right. Right. You can branch them in towards being sort of like an edge type rusher, or branch them in towards being a different type of person. I would rather handle it with attributes than just slap a trait on it.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Simulation games. I think a lot of gamers, when you tell them, hey, maybe you should play this JRPG or an RPG game, they're like, nah, I don't play that. I'd rather play the sim game or something like that. They don't understand that, hey, I actually want RPG elements in my football game, in my sports game. And the fact that you're talking about a player tree, right? Attribute tree, I think that's might be the right course to go. So fair enough. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Will online gaming and matchmaking be available at early access?
Yes, it will.
Yeah. Nice. Will there be like lobbies for online gamers to chat and maybe view somebody's record or maybe their tendencies as a player?
Yes. Yep. We have lobbies right now. The lobbies are still in prototype. So
sure.
when I jump in and start playing online right now, I jump into matchmaking and it just matches me with whoever else is currently looking for a game.
Right.
And we have a prototype working where you can actually invite people into your lobby. And then when you're in your lobby, you can look at their player card, look at their banner, look at all their information, their stats and all that stuff. It's not fully working yet, but it'll be working by the time we get to launch.
Nice. That's great. Can PC logos be uploaded for consoles or console users when the game launches for consoles?
That's the idea. The idea is that you would upload it onto PC, and then we have so we already have, this is hidden from the testers right now, but we have a page where you can actually share logos and share rosters you can share logos. So you can share a team logo independently. You can share that on its own. You can upload it and then share it. You can also take a roster, and rosters are independent of any team. It's just a list of players with numbers and attributes, and you can assign that to basically any team you want to. So you can download rosters from people online, and it'll just be like named roster 001, 02, or whatever name they want to give it. GEDDEN's roster.
Yeah,
you can download it.
Nice.
And then you can also create teams, right? So a team really just you create a team and you create all of its history. You input its name, it's like tagline or what? I'm sorry, not tagline, but
nickname.
It's nickname, it's mascot, stuff like that, where it's from. And then from there, you can basically just choose you basically go to the library of rosters, import which roster you want to be associated with the team, which logo you want to be associated to this team, and then you can share that full team if you want to. All of this stuff is currently working on the back end, but not the front end. There's we're probably going to do that stuff. We're going to get all of the upload. So the upload stuff works now. All the team creation stuff works now. But the sharing stuff might come after launch, like sharing the logos with other friends. So you'll be able to create all your own stuff, but actually sharing it might come after launch. We're still seeing if we'll have it ready by the time we launch.
Sure.
And so that would basically, sharing it is how you would get it from PC onto like Xbox or PlayStation, because you can't upload directly to PlayStation or Xbox. So until we have the sharing working, I don't think that you're going to be able to move teams from PC, to Xbox or PlayStation.
Okay, but users will still be able to put in whatever logos they want from PC and then share it, and somebody on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or S, they'll be able to upload those logos onto their console and do them what they will.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. That's perfect. Will there be face scanning? And if not, face scanning at early access or later? And if so, is there a time frame for that?
We haven't talked about face scanning very much.
Sure.
We want to have a real player creator. So right now we have focused more on team creation and then some basic player creator stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't go into the nose and like make it smaller or make it bigger or raise the eyebrows, lower the eyebrows. All that really specific stuff we don't have. That's the next step, right? Okay. We want to be able to really get into the details, make a nicer jawline, nicer, whatever you want to do, make the guy skinnier, fatter, change his complexion, all that stuff. When we get into that, the more specific player creator stuff, we'll visit the face scan. But right now, no, we have none of that.
Okay. All I'm hearing is gameplay is the main focus. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we're just about done. Is there anything you would like to say, like as like a finishing statement, or tell people where to go to join your Twitter or anything like that?
Well, first, just thanks for having me here today.
Thank you for having me, man. This is an excellent experience, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is fun. For anybody watching, just follow our game. Get on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Follow our game. Keep up with all the updates. Be patient, please. Wait for the game to come out, and it's going to be this year. So just wait a little bit longer. Have a little more patience. And try to understand that the reason we delayed the game wasn't to make anybody mad or anything like that. We just delayed the game because we needed to get physics in. We need to get a lot of these mechanics working better. Nobody's going to forgive us if we launch with a bad game, right? Nobody's going to forgive us. So releasing a game early just never made sense to us. We want the game to be impressive. You only get one first impression.
Yeah.
So we're making sure that we launch in a way where people are going to be impressed. And that's going to be this year. So just, stay with us until we launch, follow the game, keep up with us. That's really it.
Support. We haven't had another simulation football game, and I can't even remember when was the last, maybe Backbreaker was the last one where it seemed like it was a AAA type of level, but it was made with a lot of passion. And that's not discounting any of the independent developers out there, like Access or Refractor Games or anyone. But it's a certain level that this game is going to be when it comes out on early access. And I am really rooting for all of the independent games out there, but definitely Maximum Football and, games that's going to, get closer to what we want a bit faster.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it, and best of luck to you.